Hi, this is Danai, and today's video is all about how to overcome performance anxiety and stage fright. Performing on stage is a big part of being a pianist. Even if you're not a professional pianist, you might want to play for your friends, for your family, you might be preparing for an exam if you're in your studies, and all these things can be connected to performance anxiety or stage fright. So today I'm going to be sharing with you some tips on how to deal with that, how to overcome it. I actually have already made a video on how to get over stage fright, which I'm going to link in the description box down below. And today I'm going to be sharing with you a whole new set of tips on that topic. So if you're interested, then keep on watching. So my very first point before I even get into the tips is that I want to stress that performance anxiety is not something that only you have. Performance anxiety is something that every single musician experiences. Even the most famous, most successful musicians that have already played over 1,000 concerts in their life experience performance anxiety. So don't feel like you're at a disadvantage if you're feeling that. It is completely normal, and what you have to focus on now is how to deal with it. Find your way to deal with it. Don't try to fight it. It is actually something that everyone experiences. The word anxiety itself actually is not something negative. Anxiety is what we get into a kind of stress mode when we think that we need to perform. And I don't mean only perform on stage, but just perform in life. Back when we used to live outside in tribes, we would experience anxiety when there was an imminent danger to us. So we have a heightened sense of breathing, a heightened heart rate. We are ready to act, and we are ready to act in a way that we could not if we didn't feel this pressure and this anxiety. So keep in mind that feeling these nerves and feeling this type of anxiety is actually something that you can use to your advantage. What is a negative thing is if those nerves take over and you don't know what to do with yourself anymore. But experiencing anxiety just as such is not something negative, and is something that is actually going to make you perform better than you ever could without it. Essentially, what happens when we experience anxiety and our body goes into this performance mode is we have more energy. We have a higher sense of concentration, a higher sense of focus. We notice the smallest things around us, and we are able to really focus on something with a lot of energy. One of my central tips when talking about performance anxiety and stage fright is to not compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. And what I mean by that is, don't look at your peers, at your fellow students, at the other performer in that concert, at the orchestra member, whatever it is, who seems like they have it all together, who seems like they don't experience any kind of anxiety whatsoever. We all have our own coping strategies. For some people, it actually is a coping strategy to pretend like they're not feeling the nerves, which is completely fine, but don't compare yourself to that, and don't set that as your standard. Compare yourself to where you were in the past and enjoy the progress that you are making. So remember what the last concert felt like and try to get it a little better this time. Don't compare yourself to somebody else. My next tip is control what you can. Since this stage situation is something where you feel like you're not in control, try to be in control of everything else surrounding that. The biggest part by far being the preparation. Be prepared, be 100% prepared, have practiced well so that you can really tell yourself, I am prepared, I know this piece, there is nothing to worry about. When we are scared of something, it's usually because we don't know enough about it. So let's say, for example, we are scared of spiders. We are only scared of the spider because we don't know exactly if it is dangerous, if it can bite us. If we learn more about it, and if we learn that this specific type of spider is not dangerous at all, it cannot crawl up our sleeve and whatever it is we're scared about, it actually moves pretty slowly and all these things, then we wouldn't be scared of it. So learn everything you can about your piece, be prepared, be able to play it in your sleep, and be in control of everything surrounding the performance. Maybe what you eat before, what you're wearing, be comfortable, surround yourself with positive people, control what you can in order to make the whole experience very pleasant. My next tip is a very concrete tip that I personally have started implementing in the past years, and it is that in the moment right before I go on stage, I focus on the beginning of the piece only. So let's say that I'm playing a piano concerto. In my head, I go over and over my first entrance. I play it in my head. I focus on the character. I focus on the sound that I want to create. And I just play that beginning. I'm talking about maybe the first 3-4 bars. Also, if I have a recital, I focus on the beginning of the piece. And there are 2 reasons for that. One reason is that I find that if the beginning is really great, then the rest of the concert is probably going to be good as well, because you start with a positive feeling, you start feeling confident, and then the rest is kind of going to come together automatically. Also, I think that the beginning is usually the hardest because it is what catapults you into that performing mode from just standing backstage. So I really make sure that that beginning is 100% secure. The second reason that I do that is I try to avoid any kind of distraction. I try not to focus on any kind of negative thought of what might happen at that difficult moment. And therefore, I fill up my mind with that thought of the beginning, which is a very positive one, with the character. I try to really focus on musical stuff, on what I want to convey, how I want the audience to feel, and somehow push away those negative thoughts. Connected to that is my next tip, which is never visualize a mistake. Don't stand backstage imagining what it will be like if you mess up that passage. That's the worst thing that you can do. If you're really scared of a passage and you really feel the need to keep visualizing it, then visualize how you manage to play it perfectly and very well, and how you are in control. Don't visualize yourself making a mistake, because what you visualize is very powerful and can come true. And subconsciously, without you even knowing it, you might make yourself make a mistake by visualizing that. Also, you will notice that stage fright and performance anxiety are things that usually are the worst right before you go on stage. And once you start playing and actually performing and focusing on what's happening right now and what's at hand, they tend to go away, or at least get less. And this is because the very definition of what it is, what makes you feel performance anxiety, is you thinking in your head what could be a possible bad result of this performance. So try to stop making yourself think that. Don't think about what could go wrong. Think about how great your beginning is going to be and how great it is overally going to go. Another very concrete tip of mine is to try to think a little bit of a slower tempo than what the tempo actually is. This is something that has worked for me personally very, very well. I am somebody who, when I'm nervous, I tend to play faster. I tend to kind of rush and run away with the piece. So I force myself to think slower, and I try to really visualize my fingers playing it slower in order to reach the actual tempo. This is also something that you will really learn to deal with as time progresses and as you perform more and more often. For me, this was a real journey. In the beginning, I really thought extremely slow in order to reach the actual tempo because I would rush. And now, of course, I've learned to really not rush and be just in time. But I think that this is something that has really helped me a lot, to just consciously think a bit slower, because I know that time on stage feels much slower than it actually is. So if I feel that I'm slow on stage, it probably looks fast from the outside. So I try to really take my time and be very mindful when choosing the tempo, because I know that I tend to rush. Generally, when you're thinking about your stage fright or your performance anxiety, focus on all the little positive achievements. Focus on the moments where you felt better the second concert compared to the first concert. Focus on how you had a great beginning. Focus on how musical that note sounded, and don't focus on your mistakes. Let's say that something bad happened, something really bad, and you really messed something up. in one of the concerts, don't focus on that. It doesn't matter. It happened. Try to put it in a drawer in your mind mentally and just put it away and don't think about it again. When I was younger, I had this very negative habit of thinking, okay, I made that mistake in one concert. Now this mistake is kind of ingrained and I have to really work a lot in order to undo it. But that's real big nonsense. You made a mistake. It doesn't matter. It happens. Put it away and start the new performance afresh and focus on the positive things that have happened and take those with you into the next performance. Another general tip is to not neglect your physical health. Especially as pianists, we can think that it doesn't matter what we eat, how we feel, it's only about the fingers, but that's not true. It is important what you eat and what you drink before, and also if you're stretched, for example, if you're in an overly good bodily posture. So make sure that you eat something that makes you feel good. Don't go crazy on the coffee before the performance. I just like to drink water and have a little bit of sugar before, like a bite of chocolate or something like that. That's what helps me the most, but just see what works for you and make sure that you are taken care of physically, that you have stretched, that you have breathed. Inhale, exhale deeply so that the blood is circulating. Make sure that your body is in an overly good condition to perform. And then finally, enjoy the performance. And if a mistake happens, it doesn't matter. Most likely only you will notice it. And even if the audience notices it, it doesn't matter. It was one mistake. The rest of the piece was there and nobody got hurt. It's just a wrong note. It really is not the end of the world. So just enjoy the performance, make music, be happy and grateful that this is what you can do, that you can make music and convey emotions and feelings to the audience and enjoy it. I hope that you enjoyed this video on how to combat performance anxiety, and let me know what your experiences are with this. This is such a big topic for any musician that goes on stage. It is something that always comes up in conversations with other musicians. So please let me know what your techniques are, what your experiences have been, if you're someone that experiences it a lot, or actually if you have found great ways to deal with it. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye.